everybody. We are Adelaide Eternal. My name's Beckett, and we're bringing you round, what is this? Round 4 now of the Vintage Eternal weekend, the largest ever online vintage event. I'm here with Drew Carter. Thanks very much for joining us, Drew.
My pleasure.
And,
So, did you win this tournament, Beckett, or what? We suppose we yet to find out. We can see.
I didn't win the.
So, what's your record at this point?
At this point, I'm 2-1. I won my first two. I played Hollow 1 and I beat that, and I played Grixis Artifacts and I beat that, and I just lost a traditional dredge. So we're going into match 4 now. Basically, you can lose 2 matches and you can't lose 3. As soon as you lose 3, you're out. So
you've got to go 8-2.
Yeah, and some 8-2s didn't even make it. There was a player who was 7-0 at one point, and they ended up not making top 8. So imagine that. But I guess that's what happens with 390 odd players.
Yeah, that's okay. We're used to playing 5-round 100-person events at GPs in Highlander. So
yeah, that's right. I mean, I felt pretty comfortable. Like I felt like ahead of the pack, ahead of the average. But you know, to make top 8, you really got to be significantly better and differentiate yourself to get like a 9-1 lead or something like that. You know, there's a big difference between that and.
So this is you with a cracking opening here, although you don't have any payoff for the show and tell yet.
I'm very tempted to play show and tell because it almost always deserves a counterspell, and often you can show and tell, and that's what I'm deciding here. Show and tell, and then if it resolves, you put your oath in, and maybe they put a Goyfin or something, and you get to trigger it. So yeah, I'm hovering over show and tell.
So you're not sure whether to play oath or show and tell. I think show and tell's better because it does something. I mean, although you could just always draw a creature, can't you? Yeah, you didn't play oath there. Why?
Because I want to bait them with the show. I want to see if they're on Jeskai. If they're on Jeskai, then they're probably keeping up a Pyroblast, and then I want to play the show and tell into the Pyroblast, so I can resolve or bait it into the Pyroblast, and then make them fight over the show and tell instead of fighting over the oath. So I can go show and tell, Pyroblast, misstep, force, and then I get to just hardcast Oath of Druids now that the counterspells are out. But I want to confirm that they're on Jeskai control first.
Okay. So you could have jammed Oath turn 2 when they had 1 mana, but you chose not to because you assumed they had a Force of Will or something. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part, I pretty much just would jam. Because I've got so many tutors in the deck that it's more likely I'll find a recursion for Oath or a second copy of Oath than it is for me to find Force of Will to back up the Oath that I have in hand. So I'm happy to just lose an Oath and then try to find the second one. But just because I had that, and there you go, they did have the Pyroblast. But just because I did have that show and tell, it's such a great bait spell that I chose to slightly more personal.
Were you tempted to use show and tell as the bait spell then? Because that would have drawn out the Pyroblast too, probably.
Yeah, it would have. I was definitely tempted. I'm not sure.
I suppose the Oko's good. Like, if it gets countered, it's fine because you've got Oath back up. And if it resolves, it's good as well. So, whereas if the show and tell resolves, it's kind of embarrassing.
It is.
Oh, no, you just put Oath into play then.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because when they don't counter it, you feel like an idiot. But when they do counter it, you feel like an absolute king. And
so here you've gone for Oath instead of show and tell.
Yeah.
And then they forced it or something?
Yeah, forced pitching Merchant Scroll it was. So
you're not doing
it. It's a cute line. I mean, let's be honest, the show and tell line's pretty cute. But
at this point you've decided I'm gonna hold on to it in case I draw a creature or something.
Yeah.
I suppose you can get your Oath back with Underworld Breach, like you've got recovery.
Easy so that you need to have I need to have another card in the bin. Yeah, actually, I could do it. I need a green mana though, because I need mana confluence for the red. But anyway, I mean, these Jeskai lists vary between playing like Snapcaster Mages and playing very heavy control, or slightly more aggressive with these Dreadhorde Arcanists, which are so strong in this format.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with Vintage, so I'm just doing my best, but it's almost like a fish deck. They're just kind of ticking away, getting some incremental advantage. Yeah, not really.
And I went for the show and tell bait there, and it does two things. One, I mean, it's a bit embarrassing because it resolved, but it actually fills up the graveyard for me to Underworld Breach there. So I get to play Underworld Breach without having to spend my mana Confluence.
Yeah, yes, that's how you used it to fix your mana effectively.
Yeah.
And you knew you would resolve the Underworld Breach.
And they put in Pithing Needle naming Grizzlebrand.
Nice. That's a waste against you.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Oh, that's good. That's a good turn. And they've got the creature now for you to trigger Oath.
They do, but they get a good look with a lot of mana and a Preordain here. They get 2 Preordains because the Dreadhorde Arcanist will swing. But it's hard to know how aggro. Most of these decks are pretty hard control. With some of them just have Mentor and that's it, and some of them have like a smattering.
That's the one Mentor there.
Some of them have Pyromancer. Pyromancer's a bit old tech, but some of them still run Pyromancer.
So what are the standard, are many people playing Oath these days? And if so, what are their Oath targets?
No one's playing Oath that I saw. People play Oath, I guess, but I didn't see any in my practice matches. I didn't see any in these matches. I haven't seen any in my post matches. Most of the time, it's a sideboard plan and control. They'll play like 3 Orchard, 3 Oath in the sideboard.
I remember that. I mean, that was done in 2005 as well. It was always a transformational thing, as well as a thing.
But there's not too many committed Oath decks that I've seen. And most of them run Grizzlebrand or Emrakul.
Yeah. I wonder what the theory is behind that and why people are off Oath. Because often it's one of the most popular decks at big tournaments.
I'd say Force of Vigor is a big one. The Vengevine Hollow One decks are mainboarding Force of Vigor. And any green deck will run at least 2 in the sideboard. I'm running 2 in the sideboard because of Paradoxical Outcome.
Yeah, so you got Time Walk off the creature there. That's good how you've got Oath as well as Time Walk. Do you want to turn off his Pyroblast? That's a risk of your approach with these creatures. Like if they counter the Time Walk, you're kind of left durdling a bit.
I'll pay that. But I find a lot of the time when I'm able to Oath, it's because I've already won something, like I've already established something under a Force of Will. So it's not likely that they didn't have the Force for the Oath, but they did have the Force for the Time Walk. It does happen if you do like an early Oath and then they consolidate their hand and you just find Orchard, but they can't counter the Orchard because it's a land, and then they've got a really good hand. But I mean, even then, it's hard for them to dispatch the next Oath. They have to kill you this turn. And I just think.
Do you feel like you're winning?
Yeah, big time.
Okay, because I'm looking at the other guy and he's got. I'm usually the guy with the Mentor, and if I've got that many dudes, I think I'm winning. But you're thinking of
me right now.
Because you're going to untap and recur Time Walk, are you?
There's only so many times you can force, and keep in mind if my opponent's forcing, that's 2 cards in their hand that they're not using to cantrip or using to bolt me or using to commit to the board. So
he Pyroblasted the Time Walk, but yeah.
True, I'll pay that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the time in this format, you're getting 2 for 1 if you want to counter something for 0.
What'd you do with your Oko?
What did I do? I upped on the Dreadhorde Arcanist so that it can't trigger and dig further for A-calls or something like that.
He was probably going to Pyroblast the Oko if you didn't do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What are these, 5/5s?
3 3s, I think.
3 3s, okay. That's okay.
And then Mentor could be swung, and I'd go to 5, but yeah, I was quietly confident. I mean, this is what I mean, because yes, I agree, it's not a Grizzlebrand. I don't just get 7 cards and win. But a Grizzlebrand here would be scary, because if I'd paid 7, I'd gone to 7. I played the Time Walk, they Pyroblast it. Sure, I've got 6 backup cards now that Runescar Demon doesn't have, but I've also got 7 less life. So they'd be swinging a lot. I mean, sure, I've got the creature, but then you're talking about Caracas as well, that is a good out, or Path to Exile, and suddenly I don't get the lifelink. I just find
there's not much.
One choice card is better than 7 random cards a lot of the time in Vintage.
Yeah. Do you find like these creatures do they ever get removed, or is there this? Do people play swords?
Yep, people play swords. It's an issue.
Okay.
You can be so far behind in the control realm, as in your opponent's just got a really nice hand, but they can't deal with the oath. But they can just triple swords your Rune Scarred.
That's unusual though.
Yeah, but that's where Oko comes in. Oko is really strong at that, because sometimes it might be the other way around, where you're going off, you've got heaps of cards in hand, you've got heaps of value, you can, time walk a couple times.
So did you tutor up? What did you tutor up Noxious Revival there?
I think I Memories Journeyed. I had Memories Journey in the bin, so I think I might have just Memories Journeyed to shuffle the time walk in and then search it again. But yeah, I think Oko's
so in your up, just for the viewer, sure. So in your upkeep, you shuffle the time walk back in, and then you tutor it with your creature.
Yeah.
And then you cast time walk, and then you could do 6, untap it, and then do 12, and that's lethal.
That's right.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I at one point before Oko was printed, I even considered running Creeping Tar Pit. Just because, sometimes people can kill the Assassin's Trophy, the Rune Scarred, and then surgical it, and you feel so far ahead because you're going off. You got all these cards in hand. You've got your Underworld Breach out, and but you're just spinning your wheel because you don't have a kill con left in your deck, and you're just like, I get to A-Call, and A-Call finds me this Lotus, and Lotus can regrowth and get the A-Call, and just drawing into nothing because there's no gas left in your deck. And that's where Oko comes in, and Oko, it's slow, but when you're very far ahead, it's its own win con, and it's really nice to have that as a backup in the list.
It can handle most threats, Oko, it can win most board states.
Yeah, well, I needed something. I was running Abrupt Decay. I think I was running 1 Abrupt Decay, 1 Trophy, or 2 and 1. I can't remember which way. Probably 2 Trophy, 1 Abrupt Decay. And I just felt like it wasn't enough. I wanted another win con, and Oko does it all, so it's consolidated.
Did your opponent just Ancestral upkeep or something?
Yeah, so they don't discard. Okay. This is a pretty killer hand.
Well, Lotus is good, yeah. Lotus, Time Walk, Oko, or Oath. Awkward, you've got it all.
I just need a force.
Yeah. Do any people play Spell Pierce in this format at the moment?
Yeah, Doomsday decks.
Okay.
Doomsday decks run Spell Pierce. They run days, actually. I think there's two days in a lot of the Doomsday lists, which is pretty unusual.
Days historically been a bit weak in Vintage because of the random mocks and lying around.
Yeah.
People tap in a random manner. Yeah. But I noticed there was a shift a few years ago where people only play the on-color mocks now.
Oh, there you go. I found the Force of Will. So this is a turn 1 Oath with Time Walk and Force backup. So it's pretty.
So you pondered for the Force of Will.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to have to use that here to counter the Force of Negation.
You can't expect this hand every turn, but it's pretty hard to beat. That's one thing I like about this deck. It's just got that. That's what you want out of a Vintage deck. Just that. Yep, I win. I drew the nuts. I win.
Yeah, I mean, I used to like getting turn 1 Tinker for Blightsteel, things like that.
It's so hard for my opponent to come back from this, even if they had a Pyroblast up here for the Time Walk. I mean, they would have Pyroblasted the Force, obviously, but you can see where even if they've got a control spell, they've invested a lot into dealing with it.
If someone's swords is your creature in your upkeep, or what do you tutor for? Still Time Walk, I suppose?
Yeah, I just do it again. Because I can, assuming that nothing goes wrong, I can just chain the time walks. Like I can get probably like 5 or 6 time walks. I can get it's not infinite, and it's not like a storm deck, which is where it's like, oh, brain freeze you for 90, and it's just like way too much. But you do get to get enough, so I can get more than I need. So even if
you've got the Noxus Revival, Regrowth, Yorgwill, the Breach. The Breach not exiling the cards is pretty important, isn't it?
It's better than Yorgmoth's Will. Yeah. Because you get to cast the important spells multiple times.
No, I think that's true.
You know, like what Yorgmoth's Will is good at going. I get to preordain, ponder, brainstorm, and A-call, and Breach is like you only get to do 2 of the spells because you got to exile cards, but you get to do it twice, so you get to A-call twice. You know, the equivalent of. And A-call twice is better than 3 cantrips.
I've never done that. I used to play Yorgwill a lot, but I've never played Breach. Yeah.
I play Yorgmoths in this list as well, but I do cut it because it's just a little bit slower.
So you cut it in the sideboarding? Okay.
Depending on the matchup, yeah. Against control, it's just so good because even if you're not going off, it's a great spell just to replay a land, replay a Mox, replay a Oath, replay cantrip past turn.
You can't play lands off under Breach, but you can do everything else. Is that right?
Correct. You can't play lands, but you can do everything else. But obviously, it's a lot more clean with Yorgmoth's Will because you don't have to exile just to play a Mox or a Gitaxian Probe. You know, like it's not worth Gitaxian Probing with Underworld Breach, but it feels great with Yorgmoth's Will. But the Breach is better. It doesn't feel as crisp, but it's better.
You did Noxious Revival for Time Walk there. Yeah. And you untapped, so you don't quite have enough damage to kill him now. Oh, what do you tutor up? Tutor up. Oh, so how do you get another Time Walk now?
I've got Journey in the bin. So I've got a search trigger on the stack. And I'm journeying, finding probably Time Walk, Regrowth, Breach or something like that.
Yeah. How often do you use Memory's Journey as Graveyard Disruption against your opponent?
Very often versus Dredge.
Okay.
Cool. Maybe not that often, actually, now that I think about it. It's not a great one to have in hand, so often I pitch it to force. And against Dredge, it's such a tight game that, like, it's such a fast match that often a 2-mana Memory's Journey won't do anything. But it's not nothing.
I think it's playable in Highlander as well. That's a different format.
Oh, I'm playing it in my sideboard in Highlander. I think it's better with the gifts package because it's nice. It's like Ancient Grudge. You got that flashback.
Yeah, anyway. You had a very strong performance there. So you had like basically game 1. You navigated a few counters to resolve your Oath, and even though you had a mentor with lots of tokens, you still had enough time to just chain your Time Walks together and get lethal. And then in the second game, you just had a nut draw with Black Lotus, Time Walk, force back up, and then did your opponent do much? I didn't even notice what they were doing.
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention. I took infinite turns, not infinite, but I took recursive turns after. They only had 2 turns to do anything, so in their second game. But the first game, I think the real lesson to take away from it with this deck is that against control particularly, I'm happy to sacrifice card advantage to get my Oath out because I've just found it absolutely inevitable. You know, even though I'm running Cruise, Dig, A-Call, Oko, and I'm playing cards that can generate card advantage, I just always seem to lose the card advantage battle, so I've given up. And I'm just happy to say, alright, you counter my A-Call, but the spell I really wanted to resolve was Oath of Druids. Even if technically an A-Call could draw you 3 Oath of Druids, I'd rather just resolve the Oath because it closes the game quickly and it gives them less turns to find answers. And you saw that with the Show and Tell, where I cast the Show and Tell, and I lost card advantage because I could have waited for a land or just played the Underworld Breach, but it didn't matter because I got to recur my Oath of Druids at the end of it all, and that's what was important.
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, well done. So you'd be feeling confident after that win, going into the next round?
Yeah, well, we'll end this one and we'll start again for that was round 4, so we'll start again for round 5 next turn. So my record's 3-1 at the moment. Thanks
Well
everyone
done.
for watching, and if you want to check out my list in more detail, I've got it on Moxfield, and I've got it in match 1 if you want to look at it. Thanks, guys.